I know, we've only just done a video on the 28-70mm f2, and Sony go and release this bad boy right here. This is of course the 28-70mm f2, and what was really nice about actually shooting the 28-70 f2 from Canon is I can really feel the difference in between this one and then the previous one then as well, which is cool. So this is the difference in size between the 24-70 f2.8 from Sony. This is the GM here, and then this is the 28-70mm f2 GM right there. And of course, when it comes to size, too far off of each other. The other thing is this is actually a good 500 grams lighter than the Canon version of the actual lens, which I think is a great saving in weight, and it genuinely feels like this is going to be very well balanced with the camera, which I am kind of all for. I think this is actually one that I'm super interested in getting myself. Anyway, let's talk about the lens itself and show you a little bit of the ergonomics. So of course this is an external zoom, you're expecting that out of this lens. You got a smooth and tight there. Tight just tightens the zoom function, makes it a little bit harder. Smooth makes it nice and smoothy, which is great. And then you got the click, non-click functionality for the aperturing here. So that's the click, and that's the unclick there as well. So you can switch it over to the A and just completely take away the aperturing capabilities if you want to. I prefer shooting with them, so probably will keep that off. I just quite like an aperturing. I think it's ye olde and it feels really quite cool. So the camera is of course an 86mm filter size, which means getting those filters is actually going to be one, expensive, and a little bit rare. But if you're looking to spend this kind of money on a general zoom, I mean, you're probably going to end up spending a little bit more on a filter anyway. So talking a little bit about the lens hood, what's really quite nice about it is if you actually end up finding the circular polarizer or filter of your choosing, you've actually got the ability to bring this down and then change the direction of the circular polarizer or variable ND depending on how and when you want to shoot it, essentially. Last thing I have to mention here, and mainly because of the engineering, is the fact that Canon is actually a 95mm filter size, and then of course the Sony, as I mentioned, was an 86. As I was saying, the lens itself feels really nice in the hands. It's not cumbersome at all. Let's get on to some creative, shall we? So I'm going to go handheld right now because I don't actually have another tripod for this one. What I'm going to be doing is doing a quick photo test, both on the nearer subject as well as a further subject, both on f2.8, comparing between the 24-70 f2.8, comparing between 24-70 f2.8 and the 28-70 f2, making sure the settings are matched up when it comes to the aperture, shutter speed and ISO. Going to shoot both 8K, check out the autofocus, and then also shoot the raw photos. Just going to get some B-roll of the actual shot though. The camera was also set to the same focus settings as well to make sure that they are working in tandem. What we noticed here is that the 28-70 f2 actually stayed in focus pretty much throughout the shoot, even whilst I was obstructing it with my hands. Going on to the 70mm end of the lens, we notice a very similar result here. The other thing to note here, and I don't know if this is just the results I'm having, but I did think the colours on the 28-70 were actually a little bit better. With effectively the same sensor, there's not really much that I can say is different. Yes, I shot an A1 and an A1 too, but these are results which I feel like sway my decision here. Both of the next shots are in cine style and just simple JPEGs, and we're testing image quality here. So if we zoom in to the center, the f2 does seem to be performing better. Both lenses perform really well in this retrospect. And then we go on to the outside, and then we look onto the sides, and again, it's performing better, the f2. Changing over to the 70mm end of the lens, zooming in, and then we are now going to check out the outside of the lens. And then we're going to be looking at a little bit of a closer focus one to be able to check out the bokeh of both the 70mm and then the 28mm lens there as well. Conclusion here with these tests really is that the 28-70mm is performing a hell of a lot better, and again, these were all settings equalized across the board. The GM Mark II f2.8 is 0.3 meters, and then this one is 0.38. Whilst I was out, I found a bike bow to show you that kind of distance as you would see fit. I took it both on a 28mm and an f2.8, and this is what you're really expecting. This is the 28mm shot of the bell. If we actually go straight in to scratches on the bell, you can tell that there's a little bit of chromatic aberration, not too much, and then on the 70mm end, it comes out maybe just a little bit more whilst zooming in, but it's not that extravagant. I actually managed to get a hold of a model just to do some portrait style shoots and, just see kind of like what it works in other kind of situations, for which we did a quick autofocus test for slow motion video, which I feel it worked out pretty well. It pretty much tracked her throughout, and this was at f2, 28mm, looks pretty good to me. It has to be said, I do really like the compression at 28mm. It's kind of in between that 24 and 70 range. This time we shot at 70mm slow motion, her coming towards the camera to check to see how well the autofocus kind of deals with 120 frames a second. Now let's move on to image quality, perhaps one of the most important factors here. While shooting with Taron, I actually found that the images were super sharp. Zooming in, you can really tell how much detail there is there. Going through from photo to photo, putting it through a number of different situations with the movement and those kind of things, it worked really well. Shooting out in the street for street photography, it reacted well to the situations that I put it into, and then also comparing it to the Canon 28-70 f2 versus this newer version, you can really tell that the sharpness in the Sony in this test was superior. However, to get a more accurate test, we would have to really take the same photo, and this is very much a comparison between two photos with the subject similar size and seeing what they are like next to each other. And I think it's the best way to really talk and compare these two lenses, because this lens to anything else, really, you've just seen me compare it to the 24-70 f2.8. People who have Sonys are going to be looking at in order to kind of compare what they have at the moment to what they can get. But a real comparison here would be to the Canon 28-70mm f2, because they are both spec for spec kind of similar. This will be the final test, but I just wanted to show the two lenses put against each other on a similar sort of gauntlet through Cardiff Market. What I found really interesting with this is the autofocus, I believe, is a lot better. I know it's from Sony and you're expecting a decent autofocus system there anyway, but the autofocus for when I was testing out for video was absolutely excellent. The low depth of field, the control interface, the ability to be able to have multiple programmable buttons on the actual camera, again, all these little things add up to a lens which, yes, is probably one of the most expensive, is Sony's most expensive kind of like mid-tier zoom lens right now, but it's a fast mid-tier zoom lens that gives you pretty much everything you would really want out of a lens, and so much more. I think one of the biggest things that I found interesting about showing this lens off to some of the boys at Camera Center were the fact that most of them said that is a lot lighter than what I was expecting. When it comes to the 28-70, I'm not going to say the things. When it comes to the Canon version, the Canon is around 1.5 kilograms in weight, or 1,500 grams. This one falls just under a kilogram at 918 grams, and it's a lens I think surprised most people that I've shown it to, because it's a lot lighter than what they were expecting. Personally, for the price of £3,050, I think that this lens is actually really tempting. It gives you pretty much everything you need to be, and the 28-70 is a incredibly powerful lens. Yes, it's going to be more for your professional market or the people that are looking to have the highest quality camera that they can have, but overall, and especially in combination with the A1 II, this lens was absolutely amazing. And it's actually got a couple of us that shoot Sony professionally outside of Camera Center to actually debate whether to get this lens for our lens lineup. Gives you everything you really need if you're shooting professional. F2, excellent, you know, quality you're getting out of this is unmatched. If you like this video, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe if you want to see more. At the moment, there's going to be a choice of a couple videos for you to watch. Here is the A1 II, and then here is another video that I released recently talking about some of the photos that I've taken over the course of this channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. Have a good day. Oh, well, you know, and please like, follow, subscribe if you want to see more. That'd be great.